Hello everyone, I am Professor Grisell Rodríguez, and today I will be talking to you about an introduction to MLA 8th edition. We're going to try today to help you understand and use the MLA 8th edition handbook. It is a style manual, and we're going to try and show you how to create in-text citations and how works cited. This is the cover of the 8th edition manual. There is a center, MLA Style Center online. That's the official website for the MLA handbook. And as you go through the handbook, if you do encounter any questions, something that isn't answered within the handbook, you can go to the FAQs or frequently asked questions of the website, and you will most likely find an answer to your questions. Those are very good answers in those frequently asked questions. The MLA Style Handbook, this guide is used mostly in humanities, languages, literature to help you with paper, in-text citations, and works cited entries. The professor, who will be a reader, will find it easier once you have a works cited list created to then find from the in-text citation that source within that works cited list. And very important also, it does help you avoid plagiarism. As we all know, plagiarism is a no-no. And if you learn how to use the MLA Style handbook or any other handbook from any other style manual, you will be able to avoid plagiarism. The idea behind the MLA 8th edition was to help the writers focus more on what they call the core elements. So these are elements that are included and are found in all sources. So it doesn't matter if it's a journal article or a book chapter or a government document. All of them should have these common core elements. Find them within the source and put them in the correct order according to the MLA handbook, then you will be able to create your works cited. This is a list of the core elements. Each source should have an author, and your works cited list should be in alphabetical order by author. If the author is not included, then you should start off your works cited list by the title of source. In this case, the title of source would be the chapter or the journal article. The title of the container would be the journal title or the book title. Other contributors, in the case of a book, would be translator or an editor. Version would be second, third, fourth, etc. edition, right, of a book. The number would be like volume, number, or part or section within the journal article. Publisher, this is one of the things that's new in MLA 8. They did remove the city, so you don't have to write the city. It is enough to just write the name of the publisher. Publication date, in the case of a book, would be the year publication. In the case of a journal article, it would be the day, month, and year of publishing of that article. And the location, in the case of book and articles, would be the pages where those book chapters or journal articles are located. This is an example of the MLA practice template. I'll show you in a few more slides the URL where you can find that template, download it, print it, and the idea is to help you then write out each of the elements as you find them within your source. If you put them in this order as you see here, then you will be creating your works cited entry. MLA also has what they call the interactive practice template. It is good to note that this is not a citation generator, so you should always go back to your official MLA handbook, make sure and confirm that the way it is written, right, in the order, correct order for each of your sources. It's good to use it to practice to see how the elements are placed, but again, it is not an official citation. URLs and DOIs, the Uniform Resource Locator, what you see in the address bar, the DOI or the Digital Object Identifier. It's a string of numbers and letters. that is assigned to each and every journal article or online document, and it's unique to each of them. MLA 8 does recommend that you use an URL at the end of your citation. When you do use it, you don't have to use HTTP or HTTPS. That's another change made in the MLA 8. That's removed, so the only thing you have to add for the URL is everything after the last slash. You cannot use a shortening site like bit.ly or a tiny URL to create the URL, make it shorter. That's not permitted. You must write out the entire URL. And MLA also notes that the DOI is preferable to the URL. If you find the DOI, that's what you should use. So in terms of location priority at the end of your citation, if you find the DOI and if it's available, use that first, digital object identifier. If that is not available, then you should look for the permalink or stable URL. If neither of those two is available, then you should use the browser URL, which is what you find in the address bar in your browser. And again, no shortening sites. You cannot make it shorter. You need to write out the entire URL. Date of access, there is a section within the MLA 8 handbook that talks about these optional elements, but most of the time your professors will ask you to add the date of access at the end of your citation. Mostly because some of these sites tend to get removed or they're changed for some reason, and there are different versions of these particular websites, so it's good to know which version you were using. And it is at the discretion of the professor, but most of the time you will be asked for the date of access. And for the months, those that are longer than 4, there is a page 95 in the MLA handbook that shows you the accepted abbreviations of these months. October, for example, would be OCT period. July, which is only 4 letters, would say the same. Works cited and works consulted. So the difference here, works cited, that is what you will most likely be asked to write at the end of your paper is a works cited list. That includes every single source cited within your paper. The works consulted is also all the works that you cited, but in addition to that, any other works sources that you might have consulted, used to get extra information, to familiarize yourself with the topic, but you didn't cite them in your paper, but you consulted them. That would be a works consulted. Most of the time, your professors will just want the works cited list. Pages, very important to how the pages should be written in your works cited list, which is at the end of your paper, and how the pages should be written within your paper in the in-text citation. End of your paper in the works cited list. You should have, if it's more than 1 page, the 2 P's with a period, and then the page numbers. You can always abbreviate that last page. So page 514 to page 522 could be 514-22. In the case of pages that are within the in-text citations, those should always be placed in parentheses. So you would have parentheses, last name of the author, page number, and close parentheses. If the author, for example, that you are citing, there's 2 quotes from the same article, there would be parentheses, author, space, the first page, the first citation, comma, space, and then the second page would be the next citation and close parentheses. If you are citing a book in the works cited list, you would have last name, first name, the title of the book, and here you notice that the title of the book, every important word, the first letter is capitalized, and it's also in italics. Then the publisher, again, as we mentioned, the city is not necessary, you don't need to add that, and then your publication. Sorry about that. I also wanted to mention that the second example, Harvard University Press, in this case, Harvard UP, you are permitted to abbreviate certain words within the name of the publisher. And there is a page within the handbook that shows you what are the accepted ways to abbreviate the publisher. If it's a book chapter, then you have the author's name and the book chapter. All the important words, first letters are in caps, and the entire title of the chapter goes in quotes, then the title of the book. Then if there's an editor, you add the editor with the phrase edited by, then the title of the publisher, the year, and the pages. And again, as we mentioned before, in the list of core elements, that location would be the pages of the chapter. If you have two authors, you will see that that second author, the name is flipped. So authors, citation begins with the last name, then the first name. But the second author starts first name, last name. Everything else stays the same. If you have three or more authors, you do have to add that first author, and then all the other authors are put together using the phrase et al., which means and others. So always the first author, and then if there are three or more, everybody goes in, and everything else stays the same. So if you are going to write a book or a book chapter, write a book or write a journal article, you most likely will want to be first, second author. The ebook chapter, same as the regular print book, and we do have databases that offer electronic books or ebooks. And the first example, ProQuest eBook Central, is one of those databases that does offer ebooks. In this case, the first example, is the same as the book. You would have the author, the title of the book. Remember we mentioned versions, so second edition would be a version, then the publisher and the year publication. Right after the year publication, that is where you would write the title of the database, and again, this is in italics, and the URL. And you will notice that in the URL, in this first example, does not have the HTTPS. As I mentioned before, you don't need to add that to MLA 8. And you end your citation with a period. If it's an ebook chapter, same as the print form, the author's name, then the book itself, the title of the chapter would go in quotes, and then the book, the title of the book afterwards. You will notice here that as opposed to the first example, this second one, you were able to find the DOI. So again, emphasis is looking for that DOI, the digital object identifier. Find it, that is what you should use. In the first example, a DOI was not available, so you use stable URL from a link. And again, each citation is ends with a period. Journal articles from databases, sometimes you will see the page numbers, sometimes not. In the first example, here you have 3 or more authors, and that is why you see the phrase et al. After the first author. You have the title of the journal article, and that goes in quotes, then the title of the journal, then volume number, month and year, pages, and right after pages, that is where you would write the title of the database. That also goes in italics. And here you found the DOI, so you add the DOI and then the date that you access that particular article. You start that off by using the word access, day, month, and year of the journal, year that it was published. The second case is the same as the first one, but after the year, in this case, you did not find any pages, so that is just skipped, and then you continue with the name of the database and the URL. First example, you see that you had the DOI. In the second one, you were not able to find the DOI, but you did find a stable URL, again, no HTTPS. In-text citations, it's basically a brief reference that tells the reader, what source you got the text from. It should help your professor find that source in the works cited list. Where did you get that citation from? And you will see that it's made up of the author's last name and the page number, and that information is put in parentheses. So you could have one author or two authors or 3 or more, and then at the end the page number. Paraphrasing and quoting. Paraphrasing, that's when you learn something that the author has said, something about one of the ideas that the author has written, and you would like to express that in your paper in your own words. You do not want to use a direct quote from the author, you want to express it in your own words. And since it is not your idea, it's the author's idea, someone else's idea, you need to acknowledge that. And that paraphrase, the quote, the source where you got it from, needs to be added to your works cited list. If, on the other hand, you would like to copy the exact quote from the author, the exact words of the author, don't want to paraphrase, you don't want to use your own words for it, then you put that particular quote in quotations and you need to add it to your works cited. So it doesn't matter whether you paraphrase or quote directly, either way, you always have to add the source to your works cited. If you're writing in your paper an in-text citation and you are quoting from, let's say, a website post, then you would quote, right, put in quotations, that particular phrase from the author, and you would add the author's last name in parentheses. In your works cited entry, this is what that would look like. So your professor would read this in your paper and then would go to your works cited list and look for the author here and would find it in alphabetical order in your works cited list. And afterwards, you would write the title of the post in quotes, the title of the website in italics, the date that it was posted, the URL, again without the HTTPS, and then when you saw that particular website post. If you are paraphrasing, here your professor is reading this particular sentence. It is not your idea. You are just writing in your own words. You have the authors and the page. In your works cited entry, your professor would look up in alphabetical order by the author and would find it, and you would have the authors, the title of the article, in quotes, the title of the journal in italics, volume, number, and year, and the pages of that article, the title of the database in italics, and the URL. In this case, you did not find DOI, but you did find stable or permalink URL. And again, no HTTPS and period at the end. If you are writing an in-text citation and it is short, less than 4 lines, then you are mentioning the authors at the beginning of your sentence, then at the end, all you have to add is the page number. If you mention in your sentence something like the authors or the researchers or the writers, and you have your quote, then at the end, you would need to write out the names of the authors. And same falls for if there's more than 3 authors, then you would write the author, the first author, and then et al. And the page number. If your in-text citation is long, or what's called a block quotation, meaning it's longer than 4 lines in your paper, you would begin your sentence in the margin, and then you would begin the quote, indenting it under your sentence, and you would continue the quote, and at the end, you would just write page number. This is an exercise, we're not going to go into it, but I do highly recommend when you get a chance, please go to these websites and practice how to place in the correct order. These are drag and drop exercises. You drag and drop the elements of a book chapter and put them in the correct order. The same goes for this exercise. This is a journal article exercise. Again, go to the website, practice the journal article, dragging and dropping the elements in the correct order. And again, it's just to help you visualize how these elements of a particular source, in this case a journal article, book chapter, go. You can get help. Here is where you can download and print out the practice template that we mentioned. This is a website for the interactive practice template. Again, this is not a citation generator. The MLA Style Center has a section to help you format the research paper, margins, where the page numbers should go, how the table of contents should look, how the title page should look. We also have these guides. It has its own guide to tell you the things that are different in MLA 8. Purdue has its own online writing lab. It has examples of different style guides, and this is the one for MLA. This is a tutorial that uses, as an example, ProQuest. It's about 5 minutes, and we do have lots of databases from the company ProQuest, so this would be a good way to look at how that is done. We have a chat with us. We have a text message. If you text us this number, we can answer questions there. You can email us. You can be our friend on Facebook, and you can also tweet us. So there are different ways to get help. This is my information here. Here's my email. So you can email me, or you can set up a virtual meeting, either through Google Meet or Cisco WebEx. Again, if there are any questions that you have regarding this particular presentation on MLA or any other databases or any other style manuals, please email me or set up an appointment so we can meet online. I do hope that this information, you find it useful, and thanks again for joining, and we'll see you again maybe sometime soon.